listen to any of it, frankly. And I just said, look, if we're not committed, then I can't continue to just meet with you. So that went its own direction. But that was one of my exposures to, like, if this person is not lying or their parts are not lying to me, I'm actually talking to a body that's not original. Now, if you listen to, there's a guy out there, I actually interviewed this gentleman on my own program. His name's Tony Rodriguez. And he wrote a book called Series Colony Cavaliers. Sweet guy. And, you know, one of his things was he was explaining the 20 and backs. And when he was talking about the 20 and backs, and so I'm borrowing on his information a little bit, but people can look him up. You know, he basically said as a child, they took him for 20 years on a secret space program thing. It wasn't all secret space program. He spent some time in South America, this and that. And at the end of the 20 years, the contract was up. They put him back, time shot him back into his body as a child, and then he relived those years. And there wasn't a like awakening until after that 20 years had passed. And then suddenly, like later on in his life, he got this massive download of all these memories of everything that happened on what he called the 20 and back. And so if you work through his story, one of the things that he explains is his physical body was still living life that 20 years, but the consciousness, and it was alien grays that were involved in this, they pulled it out of him and put it in a clone body that went through some MK Ultra type stuff, and then got put on missions, and then was recruited and went to Mars, and eventually Ceres Colony, which is the colony off planet. Okay, so if any person met him in South America, they would have met his human consciousness in a clone body, while his physical body was also physically growing up in his hometown. And that got me thinking, wait a minute. He's essentially explaining exactly what I'm running into, because they didn't destroy his physical body and put it on ice in Antarctica, but this is what I ran into with this other person. And then I started working with other people, and I would find that sometimes what I was meeting was their consciousness in clone bodies, whereas the original body was somewhere. I was actually meeting their clones. But the consciousness that's in those bodies is humanity. It's actually the soul. And this is the premise for a lot of these newer projects. Like, they are splitting the soul and doing consciousness transfers into other bodies, but not all of those bodies would look human. So sometimes people are meeting